All right. Hi, everyone. This is Gilberto from Maverick Media Lab, and I'm here with Daniel Harrell, and he's going to be talking about how he's been able to grow his referral partnerships. I'm going to go into a little bit on the details on how he's been able to do that. So, Daniel, I really, really appreciate you sharing your time with us.
Sure,
And
absolutely.
to start things off, can you just kind of give whoever's watching this right now a bit of background on yourself, just so they understand like who you are, how long you've been in the industry, all that stuff.
Um, my name's Daniel Harrell. Everybody just calls me Danny. I've been in the business about 21 years. I ran a retail refinance division for about 11 or 12 years. And then when rates dropped into the threes for the first time, I kind of had a nervous breakdown because I realized that refinances weren't sustainable. And I literally went from 100% refi to 100% purchase inside of a month.
Wow.
Went through some growing pains, but purchases are obviously a little bit more difficult and handholding, but I'm not subject to the market interest rates fluctuating to where somebody will make a decision versus not. So, plus I don't have to dial the phone out all day and essentially be a glorified telemarketer.
Yeah. What was the situation before? Like, can you kind of go into detail? Like, what was the situation before you started like working with us? Like what were the kind of big things when it came to getting more referral partners? You mentioned a little bit more on that, like, not feeling like a glorified telemarketer. What were some struggles when it came to growing your realtor partnerships?
So in the beginning, I used to work with any realtor that would send me business. And that was an actual bad idea because I was getting the bottom of the barrel realtors that were consistently sending over clients with bad credit. They wanted me to babysit them. They wanted me to act as if I was their assistant. Calling me up, asking why I'm not following up with their client with the 490 credit score every 2 days. But as I've grown and gotten better, I've been fortunate that I was able to get in a position where I've been able to let realtors go and choose not to work with them. So my list of realtors that I worked with was relatively small, but they were very loyal. So I'm a loan officer, but I actually run my own branch. So I'm a branch operator. I have a business partner. So as we started to grow our branch and business, I wanted to start getting more referral partners just because I didn't want, my referral partners were limited and they were producing realtors. And we've been doing very well, but I started to figure out like how much better could we be doing if I could find more of these kind of partners. And I've tried let me come in and do a lunch and learn. Let me take you out to lunch. Let me do a happy hour. And that shit doesn't work. It doesn't. You're going to get the same agents showing up for the same events, for the same free food, for the same free drinks. They'll send you a crap client that they don't want to send their good referral partner. And I hate prospecting. I hate it. So I would prospect just listing agents on deals. That's how I would earn my business. And then I came across you guys and was fortunate in the time that being a branch operator, I didn't have to make a decision or get permission. We were able to go ahead and do our own individual research. And I did the math on it. I get one loan from you guys, one, and it's paid for itself. It's just that simple. One transaction and your system is paid for. So the return on investment is extremely easy. If you can't get one transaction out of 60 to 90 referral leads, I don't know what to tell you. But
yeah, it's very hard not to.
If you close one deal, it pays for itself.
Yeah.
You know, and
And
then
you get
there's
a
also
referral
other
partner that'll
services.
send you more deals from it.
Pardon me?
And you get a referral partner that sends you more deals as a result too for X
Yeah.
amount of years.
Yeah. Well, I know a lot of people might originally think like, well, the price, is a little bit high, but when you think about realistically, even if you're just a loan officer and you don't run a branch, then it's maybe 2 loans it pays for it. So the return on investment is exponentially increased, whether you're a loan officer that's getting paid basis points or you're a branch operator that, can set your own margins. But, it's one loan as a branch operator, 2 loans as an LO, and the system pays for itself. And now, that's a one-time fee, and then you just keep building those relationships and establishing and
Of it. And one thing I was curious about, because I know for you, like, one of the things that I found really impressive and what you just mentioned right now is like, as the market shifted and like refis went down, and then like there's talk of recession and like all this stuff that, has really caused a lot of like kind of chaos in the market. You decided, even in spite of that, to, invest in your business and,
yeah,
your referral partnerships, right? Which is something that, a lot of loan officers at the time of this recording now, like, could be, seeing the same things you are. And they could be thinking, well, I'm just going to watch and see what the market's like. I'm just going to watch and see what's going to happen. And then I might do this, or I might hold off on this.
it's penny
What
smart, dollar dumb. That's an expression I use all the time. You're going to step over dollars to pick up pennies. Like literally, especially if you're a loan officer that's struggling right now. Because I have a business partner, and he has a buddy that runs his own brokerage, and I think his year to date was 35 grand. Which nobody is in this business to make 40 or 50 grand a year. It's not worth it. Just with the hassle and struggle. But I hate to use the expression, you got to spend money to make money, but the way that you guys operate, the reviews that I saw, and you're guaranteed X amount of appointments. You guys are extremely flexible, where sometimes I get a little bit swamped. I've been able to tell you, hey, like I need a couple of days to turn these off. And then I've realized that's in the beginning, I had to, I would just use the word pitch, but that's what it is. You have to come up with some kind of talking points or scenario or system that you use on the same realtor from start to finish. And now that I've gotten my pitch down from start to finish, when I get agents on the phone, it's always the same thing. Oh yeah, I know we have an appointment. I got 1 or 2 minutes. And an hour and a half later, we're still talking, sometimes 2 hours.
Yeah.
So there's been times where I've told you I've actually missed appointments because I've had an appointment set at 12 and then one set at 1:30, and I'm still on the 12 o'clock call
Yeah.
at 1:30. And I, just like anything, you're going to get, your return on investment is going to depend on how hard you work. I mean, obviously, if you don't call the leads and you're not calling the realtors, but there's a very specific pitch that I put together and tweaked for a while, and it works. And everybody has their own style. It's just in the beginning, you got to go through it and figure out where your comfort level is, what works. And after, first couple of agents I talked to, it was a little bit awkward just because I haven't been in that mode for a while. So I actually came up and actually wrote down something that I wanted to say. And then I put that into an email format. So some of the times where I've gotten a lead and let's say the realtor hasn't answered, I will send them this email, and it's amazing. They'll get the email and they'll actually call me back. Obviously, that doesn't work with everybody. But then when I have the conversations with the agents for an hour and a half or 2 hours, I send them that same email. I just tweak it. I tweak it a little bit to the conversation that we've had. But I mean, I'm getting probably 4 or 5 agents on the phone a week.
Yeah, talk to us more about that. What are some of the results that you've been seeing? So you mentioned like 4 to
I've
5.
actually had, yeah, honestly, it's been working so well that I've actually had to speak to your account rep about turning down the amount of leads that I'm getting per week. Just because when I'm on the phone and the way that I go through my and we can call it a presentation, a pitch, whatever, however you want to
Yeah.
verbalize it.
Presentation.
But
Yeah.
I've actually had to cut that back because they've gone so long. But the longer you keep these agents on the phone, the better. But I honestly, sometimes I'll come into the morning and I got an email where I got like 4 leads set up. And it's just boom, 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 boom. And then you guys have I have my own system to track them. But then obviously you guys have a really
Yeah.
good CRM or a dashboard that I use where you put notes in. And then I know that you guys do your own campaigns and drip them.
Yeah.
You guys do a really good job. And one of the ways that changed my pitch was I was telling the guy about our marketing program. And he said, well, obviously it's successful because your team got me. So, when you guys call, they think you're a representation of my company. So
Yeah.
they think that my marketing team obviously is doing something successful because we got them on the phone. And when that actually triggered me to redo my whole pitch. And that's when I've been keeping people on the phone for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of like a flywheel. It just kind of like it kind of gives also the impression like this person is like super established. They've got a whole like marketing team, and like, if they were able to get them on, we were able to get the realtor on the phone, like just imagine what we can do for like, the value prop for the realtor. So
exactly.
it's kind of upward spiral.
Yeah. Well, that was something that the realtor, he had said something and it just clicked. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this guy thinks that these guys work for me. That's great. And I've kind of incorporated that into a high percent, you know.
Yeah, it's good
Um,
because yeah, it'll be kind of like your assistant, right? Where they'll just like reach out on your behalf, and like, from the realtor's perspective, like, they kind of see like Daniel and then like this whole like marketing team behind them, which is
mhm.
like actually true. I mean, these guys are working on your behalf to go out there and get the realtors. I also wanted to ask you as well. So you're getting about 4 to 5 meetings per week. Talk about like the referrals you've gotten and like the referral partners as well. Like how many of these guys have been sending over referrals, and how many like connections have you established with these agents?
So I haven't been doing this system. I think I've only been in it for 4 months. But if I'm looking at my dashboard, I think I got 12 to maybe 14 relationships established, where I'm getting consistent phone calls from these agents. Actually, I did a refi for one of the agents that I got from the list. It was her personal refi. Um, but I mean, that's, to be honest with you, it's a high percentage. I expected realistically, if I worked like if you work every lead and you can turn 10% of them, like you're a superstar. And honestly, I'm above 10%, which I'm kind of surprised. You know, just from my retail division, I understand that, you're not going to get all of them, and you guys don't promise that, but you guys do have a good, what's called no-show policy. So if you call and somebody doesn't answer, you guys still work them, you get them back on the phone. Like even today, I was supposed to have a meeting and the realtor was respectful enough to call my team and say she had an appointment because she rescheduled. So, you know, just by that realtor calling to ask to reschedule, that to me shows that there was some type of value added in that phone call because she didn't just not
Yeah.
answer. She called back to ask to reschedule.
Yeah, that's usually a really good sign. Like if they're not interested or like they just wanted to get
They'll
someone
just
off,
duck.
yeah,
Yeah,
they'll just cancel it or
yeah,
like they won't show up.
yeah. Now I'll be upfront. There's a couple of agents that I haven't called only because I've worked with them in the past and I don't want to work with them again. But you guys all know that,
Yeah.
so I just kept them in the appointment book section. But your CRM's like, well, you call it a CRM, but your dashboard is extremely easy to use.
Yeah.
Um, you get multiple contact points, like, you get a text message, an email, and then it's pretty easy to set a reminder on your calendar. And then, you know, uh, if somebody has a question or somebody wants a version, the pitch that I go over, personally, I'd be more than happy to help them with that. Like, I don't want to go through the whole diatribe of that right now during this
Yeah.
testimony, but I came up with I thought I had a good pitch, and then it got better. And if you have the same pitch from start to finish, it allows you to, and it allows you to get into a conversation, do your pitch, come out of the conversation, talk about some personal stuff, get back into get back into the pitch, back out of the pitch, get back into it. And next thing you know, you're on the phone. And it's funny because literally every person that I've kept on the phone for an hour or 2 hours, every one of them said, yeah, I have a minute, or I'm walking into an appointment.
Yeah. That's usually how it works. I'm glad you brought that up because some get like kind of discouraged when they hear that. Even sometimes we hear that as well from like loan officers when we reach out. And it's funny how like when you are presenting value to them and like it's something that does bring value, like they will stay on and they're willing to listen even up to like 2 hours. Like
Oh,
how
yeah,
it
it
happens.
happens all. Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. It's like you know, it'd be like getting a phone call from some girl that you don't want to date, and you're like, "Hey, look, I'm about to go into dinner with my parents, but I got a couple of minutes." And all of a sudden, she starts talking, and the more she's talking, the more you're like, "Man, maybe it's somebody I want to check out." And you just
It's a
keep
good
going and
analogy.
going, and next thing you know, I have to walk into dinner because
Yeah.
and I don't call them out and be like, "Well, hey, I thought you had I just
Yeah.
keep going. Um,
Yeah. You definitely don't want to call them out on that.
nah, but it
One
worked.
thing I was gonna say one thing I was curious about, what have you found to be like your favorite part, or I guess the part that you found like most valuable about the system? Like what's been kind of like the thing that's been like the biggest impact for you out of all the
Um, just honestly, the information, because I'm very blessed and fortunate right now that I'm extremely busy, where a lot of people aren't. Now, I'm a little bit more activity busy right now than I am results busy, but you have to get activity to get results. But having access to this information, um, like if I call somebody, they don't answer, that doesn't mean I'm not above calling them. Just the list of information itself. I have a database of agents that have talked to somebody, on my team at some point. So then that way, when I slow down a minute, or if I want to go ahead and decide to, set some time aside one night and go through, like I said, I managed a retail division, what we called internet leads, for 10 years. I didn't mind it. So I'm not above going through and calling the old people who never answered.
yeah.
I know a lot of agents right now are getting crushed with phone calls from loan officers, just in general. And that's what I'm hearing from my realtors. But the loan officers that are calling, they're extremely disrespectful. Like, oh, I'm better than your lender. I can do this. I can do that. And, I'm a pretty confident guy, but I don't go in and start talking. They don't want to hear you talking trash on their agents.
Yeah.
You just kind of go through exactly, well, I'm not going to go into the whole long detail of the pitch, but Um, getting the information works, you know.
By
And
information, you mean like the pipeline of realtors, the contacts?
the
Yeah,
pipeline, the contacts, you know, and you know, it's not, you guys do a good job because when I call them, they answer, they're like, oh yes, we had an appointment set up today. So it's not like you're calling them and they're like, who are you calling from, or who are you
yeah.
with? Why are you calling me? You know, it's not a list of cold calling agents, you know, begging for business. It's, you know, the way that you guys present it is that I have a gigantic marketing team. And those agents think that if I have a marketing team that big behind me that's reaching out to agents, what is my marketing team doing to drive me buyers that in turn I can send to these realtors and get, you know, a relationship, what I call reciprocity. You know, I'll send you a deal, but I expect 2 or 3 back. And that's
The
usually
value proposition. Yeah,
Mhm.
really important. Yeah. And I guess for you, like, what would you say, like, in the same way that realtors get content, I'm sure you probably get like a lot of, marketing emails, like calls and all that kind of stuff. And you're probably like over the years been bombarded by those. So what would you say would be like, what was the main thing that made you choose to work with us? Like what was the thing that made you to decide to work with us? In as compared to like, the other options that you have?
Honestly, I don't know. It might have just been timing. It might have just been me doing the research. It might have been going through and seeing what you do. Because I've had other places, you know, and I've talked to them, but I've never felt comfortable, you know. And then I wish I had a better answer. I'm not sure, but there was something that made me pull the trigger, and it
Yeah.
was worth it. You
It
know,
sounded like it was that you didn't like prospecting. You did
I
some
hate
research.
prospecting. No,
Yeah.
I don't, because I don't take. I've done that. It doesn't work. Taking agents out to lunch doesn't work.
Yeah.
Taking agents out to happy hours doesn't work. You're going to get the same shitty agents, and they're going to send you shitty clients, and then they're going to expect you to manage their pipeline to turn downs. You know, it doesn't work like that. It just, you know, people, you know, agents don't go into offices anymore. So it's not, you know, and I
Work.
tell, like, even these agents here, I tell them, like, listen, I'm not going to take you out to happy hour. We're not going to be doing lunches. You know, we're not going to be doing any of that. Like, if at some point we do a lot of business and me and you want to go have dinner just to go have dinner, that's great. But I'm not going to take you out to lunch to try to earn your business. Like, I like to work if you want, you know, um, but it seems to work because when I'm talking to them, I'm working, you know, and I tell them, you know, and this is true, I don't like being away from my computer because I get too many emails, phone calls, text messages. You know, like I've gotten 6 calls since we've been on this video chat here. So I tell the agents here the same thing. I don't like being out of the office because it doesn't allow me to work, and I don't like looking at my phone and seeing that I'm behind. You know, so I'm just pretty upfront and direct with them, and they seem to respond to that.
Yeah,
Most
authentic. That was one
most
thing I've grabbed from you is like you're very authentic in your approach.
Oh yeah, I mean they can sniff through bullshit. You know, they can. Agents are regular people. Their clients are regular people. You know, they don't want to think that they're talking to some old white dude in a 3-piece suit behind a big fucking oak desk who's just making
Yeah.
a decision randomly. Like, okay, this person's approved. This person, you know. Um, but when I tell these agents, like, look, we're not going out to lunch. The good agents, that's what they want. They don't want you to take them out to lunch. They want you at your computer. So when they have a client that they need to call, you can call them, approve them, get them a pre-approval letter. You're available to work. And this system here is by far been the most successful system I've used to generate business. It's that simple.
What would you say to someone who's like on the fence about working with us? Like maybe
Pull the
they're,
trigger. Just pull, well, I'm gonna back up. If you're afraid to call somebody and you're timid and you don't think you're gonna, because I've had conversations with you where I've missed appointments sometimes and it's my fault, and there's certain areas that I need to improve on. So if you think you're not a hard worker, or if you think that you're too good to call people, don't spend your money. Walk away, go do something else, but this business isn't for you. If you think, if you're not above taking phone calls and establishing relationships and working the leads, pull the trigger. It's literally one deal, maybe two. Two deals pays for this program. And that's just and then everything else on top of it is just, the ice cream and, whatever you want to call it. But the program in retrospect, or at least for me in the area I work, our average loan sizes are between 300 to 500. So, if I'm even a loan officer, if I had a loan officer working for me and they, and I paid for this system for them, I would recoup my money in a deal. The loan officer would recoup their money in two. I would tell them not to be short-sighted. This is the time of business, like especially right now, a lot of realtors are getting hit and getting called. But I also think it's slowing down a lot because I think this has been a rough year for a lot of people. And I don't think a lot of people will be in this business next year. I don't. They're going to look at their W-2 from last year versus this year and probably jump out. So if you're seriously, if this is your career, I've been doing it 20 years. I'm not really qualified to do anything else. It's that I can't. So if this is your career, pull the trigger. You'll get your investment back. The only way you won't get your investment back is if you choose not to work it. And if that's the case, then that is 100% on you.
do you feel as though some have gotten like comfortable from like kind of like the stage where I'm right now recording this, like the refis are gone? Like, do you think that some people kind of got comfortable in that?
100%. Yeah, they got fat and lazy. Like I like doing refis because they're easy, but even last year when rates were in the 2 or 8s, I think less than 5% of my business was refis. It's just when you do a purchase, you're establishing relationships with an agent. You get a chance to establish a relationship with the listing agent. So what people don't understand is like if I get a lead from you guys and this guy sends me like I have one guy from here that sent me 2 purchases. All right. On both of those purchases, I have established relationships and gotten leads from the listing agents on those deals. So one guy has gotten me 4 deals. He's gotten me 2, and then I've gotten 2 separate deals from the listing agents. So there's multiple ways to use this to market yourself without actually having to sit down and do the cold calling and do the hard part. And
it's a smart strategy.
Oh yeah, well, there's no better way. There's no better way to prospect than a listing agent. You're already in the deal.
Yeah.
So I tell a listing agent who I am. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm good at my job. When this is over, I'm going to ask you to be put on your list. And I'm not going to ask you to be number 1. If you're successful, you have somebody you're comfortable with, and I'm okay with that. I just want to be on your list. And then when the deal's done, I come back and I say, hey, this thing went through smooth. I want to be on that list. And a lot of them, like the 2 I'm talking about, I got referrals from listing agents before the deals have even closed. So there's multiple streams of ways to get business out of these phone calls.
And to end off everything, what would you say to, like, I guess the person who would be in that category where like things were good, like refis were up and like they were in a spot where they were comfortable and like now, you know, purchases, it's a purchase market. What would you say to that individual who might be in that spot at this current moment of watching this video?
If you know what you're doing in this business, purchases aren't any different than refis. You just got to pull the trigger. Give yourself a couple of months to adapt, because you know you're going to get realtors that'll send you clients and you'll approve them, and then in this market they're out buying pretty quickly. I'll tell you this, if I didn't do purchases, I wouldn't be in the business. There's no way. Like, there's just, I'm not going to sit here and one, from a financial standpoint, it would be stupid, but from an ethical standpoint, I'm not going to try to convince somebody to refinance out of a 2.5 or 3% loan so they can take 20% cash out of their house, or $20,000 in cash out of a house. Like, that's a hard sale.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to increase your mortgage payment by $200 or $300. It's just, it's insanity. Like, even when the rates were low, I focused and stayed with my purchase because I know that's where the longevity of this business is. You know, I'm sure there's people who can make a living still doing refis, but if
It's
you,
time to switch. Yep. It's time
yeah,
to make that switch like you did. Yep.
yeah, I was just fortunate enough I did it back like 10 years ago, like when rates first dropped to 3.25 at one time. Like, I was managing, I had 30 people under me, and I started freaking out because I realized when rates were that low, I'm like, this isn't sustainable. Like, at some point, everybody's going to refinance, and then you're going to have everybody at 3 or 4%, and they're not going to want to refinance again unless you find that crazy. Like, I've done one refinance this year, but that was because it was a separation. You know, I'll do refis all day because I love them. They're easy, but you know, jumping
Wise
into
word.
yeah, I mean, it's a different. I'll be upfront with you. Doing purchases is much more difficult and time consuming, but it also, there's a lot more freedom involved because you're not sitting there like either waiting. I don't know if your company like is driving business in, or you're sitting there going through a call sheet and they're just going through or buying internet leads where they sell those leads to 4 companies, and then one of those companies sells that lead to other 4 companies, and now all of a sudden you're competing with 12 or 13 people. And I'm very directed to the point, but I don't bait switch, so I never win those deals because I don't lie to get them. So yeah, if this is going to be your career, you gotta get your ass out of refis and start doing purchases. It's just, there's no other way around it.
Cool. So we'll wrap it up with that. Wise words. I really appreciate your time, Daniel. I know you mentioned you got like around 6 calls that came in. So really appreciate you just giving like
Yeah.
honest feedback and just sharing, you know, even your strategies as well of what you've been doing. I'm sure a lot of people are going to find like really helpful. So I
Like,
really,
if you have anybody that's having trouble, you can have them contact me and I can send them an example of the pitch that I've come up with. And
that would be helpful.
yeah, I don't mind sharing. You know, especially if they're, you know, if they're not in my market, I'll give it, works too.
Yeah.
So like when I did refinance, I had the same pitch and I did all the selling forever. So, you know, if you have anybody that's having issues and they need some way to try to figure out how to get, because the hardest part is that first intro. Like, even myself, like, how the fuck am I going to make this, or how am I going to make this phone call? You know, and it took me a couple of phone calls to get comfortable, but then after coming up with the pitch and then revising it. So if you have even people that are in your system now, but they're having trouble, you can give them my information, or you can just ask me and I can send you a copy of my pitch and how I go through it.
I love it. I appreciate that. That's very generous of you.
Oh, I don't care. If they're not my market, I want them to be successful too.
I love it.
So,
Awesome, Dan. Once
all right,
again, I
bud.
really do appreciate you've been a like exceptional client, and like, you know, you've been seeing like amazing results. So I'm glad you were able to come on and kind of share what you've been doing, and you know how everything's been working with you. I'm sure a lot of people are going to find value in this.
Okay.
Yeah, really appreciate
Well,
you.
call me anytime you need, and if you need some help, I'll share that pitch.
Awesome.
All right, bud. Have a good one.